metrics, and we can also configure custom metrics based on your customer requirement. So metrics, as I told you, it is the data about the performance of your resources. Okay, so for each and every resources, you might have different performance data. So it might be CPU utilization, or it might be memory utilization, or it can be your network data in or data out, or it can be your different elements, right? So disk usage. So these are the top four resources that we generally deal with your EC2 instance or most of your resources, memory, CPU, network, and disk. And metrics, when it comes to metrics, it is near real time, right? It's not when I say near real time, almost some of the tools it provides you the data in a minute or in 5 minutes. So by default, CloudWatch provides you metrics every 5 minutes. And what you can do is you can go and enhance the quality of monitoring. I won't say quality, enhance the frequency of monitoring. Okay, so by default, your basic monitoring provides you every 5 minutes of metrics. And if in case you want to get more granular metrics, you can just go and configure detailed monitoring. Just for an example, if you go to your EC2 instance, by default, when you create a EC2 instance, it doesn't get configured for detailed metrics. By default, you go with basic monitoring. So for example, if I go to my system here, you have a separate tab for monitoring. So go to that particular tab. And then if you just look at here, it also gives you an option called manage detail monitoring. So by default, you'll be getting monitoring for every 5 minutes. And if you can see that after you enable detail monitoring, the Amazon EC2 console displays monitoring graph with 1 minute period of your instance. Additional charges apply. So if you really want this to be enabled for your environment, especially for your production environment, you can go and enable it. This is going to incur additional cost. Else, you just don't have to do that. So let us enable it. I'll enable it shortly, and you will get monitoring metrics observed very quickly. So custom metrics also can be done. For example, if you're going with detailed monitoring, some by default you might not see certain elements. For example, memory monitoring might not be available by default. You can see that CPU is available, network in and out is available, and then you also have disk stuff, and again CPU related. Memory is not available by default. So you can configure that as a custom metrics, or you can also go and enable the detailed monitoring to get additional metrics like memory related or custom metrics can be enabled on need basis. I'll also show you how to enable memory related metrics or custom metrics for your systems or resources in AWS. So you are getting near real time data in the metrics, whereas all these data, whatever you are getting, it is in numerical format. When it's in numerical format, you can see it is a time. So for example, at this point of time, you are utilizing maybe like 40% or 4%, and it is all showing values in numerical format. It is unlike your log. See, when you're going to log or event, it gives you detailed information in a text format. So it says like your service has stopped at this particular point of time, this person has logged in at this time, and he has changed something at this time. What is the description, what is the error ID, what is the event ID? So you get a lot of text information in events or logs, but in metrics, you don't see a lot of text information here. It is like mostly numerical format. See, for example, if you're going for your task manager, so whatever you are seeing in your task manager, all are numerical data. It is a time bound graph. It shows what is the utilization, and you are all getting the information in a numerical format. Either it is memory or CPU or disk or whatever monitoring you're talking about, whatever information that you're seeing, everything is numerical values. So for storing numerical data or the timestamps, so it is all based on a specific timestamp value, right? So it is not going to occupy a lot of space. So it's a timestamp data, or you can just say time series of data. So what is the utilization at a particular hour or a particular minute? So all those things are being consumed. So generally, the data consumption is very less because you are just storing numerical values instead of text value. So the data is very light size for your metrics. And examples of your metrics are performance monitoring in your Windows, task manager in your Windows, top tool in your Linux, and you also have CloudWatch metrics explorer. So these are all some examples of your tools. So if you go to your CloudWatch, see, this is also metrics only. Okay, whatever I'm showing below, all these are metrics. Okay, and if you go to CloudWatch, you can see what are the different metrics that are available. And if you expand this stuff, so you can just go and see what are the different metrics we have. See, these metrics gets added as you as and when you go and create certain service. For example, I'm in North Virginia region, so I have already we have already discussed compute, database, storage, backup, and all those things, and that's the reason you can see those metrics are available here. And if you go to other regions, just for an example, I have never logged into regions like Stockholm. Okay, but if you go there in the same CloudWatch dashboard, CloudWatch is the regional service. Okay, in CloudWatch Stockholm, you might not have any metrics there. Okay, so there are a couple of metrics. These are all default usage related metrics, but you don't have any metrics beyond the EC2. So these are all couple of default stuffs that has been created because it has created some AMIs, or it has created couple of metrics. But compared to your Stockholm, you see a lot of metrics in North Virginia. Reason is like we have already created some services on those particular products or AWS services, and that is the reason those relevant metrics for each of those services are getting listed. See, just for your EC2 alone, there are 68 different metrics you can collect for your EC2. Similarly, for your EBS, for your disk, you can collect those many number of, I mean, around 20 or 30 metrics you can collect. See, these are all the different metrics that you can get from your EC2 instances. Okay, so as and when you go and deploy some use some services, those metrics gets added up here. Okay, so for example, EBS or logs or EC2, it gets created once you start using that particular service. So if I go to Mumbai, maybe it might have somewhere close to 300 or 400 metrics because I've created some more services there also. So see here we can see 225 because I've just created S3, EC2, EBS, and certificate manager in Mumbai, and that's the reason I'm seeing. So there are 1,500 plus, I would say 1,000 plus metrics available by default. AWS is providing it for different services and different product, and these metrics gets added to your CloudWatch listing or metrics dashboard as and when you go and deploy a resource for a particular AWS product and service. So if you are not seeing something in a CloudWatch metrics, that means you have not used that, utilized that service, or you're not experienced that particular service in that particular region. So that's the reason you might not see that metrics. But if you go and just work on that, or you go and create something, see, for example, we might have created a EFS file system, we might have created a RDS database. So that's the reason those metrics are getting listed here, right? As simple as that. So now you can also configure for custom metrics, and you can also see when you are working with different customer, they might ask certain metrics. Okay, so some metrics AWS might have already added it in the recent past, but based on my prior experience, so some customers will ask like how much time it takes to load a web page, or how many API calls are being made. API calls are very normal, okay, but I'm just giving us an example. But few years back it was not available, but then they later added these things as a default metrics. And what are the different errors that we are receiving, the error rates, and what are the number of processes that are running in a particular application. So it is not at the infrastructure level, but I'm talking about some application specific services and threads and so on. So these are all called as high resolution metrics or custom metrics, which you can configure for your applications. And you can also store it for specific period, whatever time range you want. Some organization might have their own retention period for your logs or the data that you're collating, and some organizations might want to rotate it with the default policy. Okay, so we will see it. Okay, so Metrics Explorer is a very powerful tool where you can go and quickly find out what's happening in your environment. It has a easy interface to go and explore what's the utilization across different resources and services. You can filter, you can aggregate, you can visualize using the Metrics Explorer dashboard. So Metrics Explorer is the tool that the operations team will mostly rely upon for creating a visualization dashboard. So we will see that. Okay, don't worry about these things. These are all very normal thing on how to create a dashboard using this Metrics Explorer, and it gives you a easy interface to go and explore the different services. The name itself, Metrics Explorer, so it gives you a easy way to explore stuffs in a quick format, and you can also filter. You can also do an aggregation of the logs or the metrics to combine them together and then see like if there is a correlation and something like that, right? So definitely CloudWatch Metrics Explorer, it's a very powerful tool. It enhances the observability of your services. So let's go and see some practical in between. So we will see the logs, alarms as we progress today. Right, so Metrics Explorer, this is what I'm talking about. So by default, there is no Explorer added, but there are a lot of templates that AWS provides for each of your services. I'll come to this part shortly. Before that, let's go to one of our instances and then start with the basic monitoring that we have. So if you go to EC2 instance, for each of your instance, you have a default monitoring tab that is there by default. And you can also start seeing some data here. Okay, so these are all the they call it as widgets, right? So these widgets are available by default. These are all the default widgets, and if you want to add specific widgets to your dashboard, you can also do it, and you can also customize based on your need. And if you want to look data for a particular duration, you can also specify that. And if you want a absolute data, say absolute is a range, right, where you can specify from which date to which date you want to see. Relative is something you can mention, like how many number of days, how many number of months and weeks. So you can filter it by a relative value, where you can specify by the duration, or you can also give it from the start date to end date in an absolute way. So there are two ways on how you can go and filter this down. Okay, so let me have it as 1 hour. And if I enable detailed monitoring, obviously it is going to help me with getting more granular information. Let's see. So now let us do one thing. Currently, the utilization is not up to the mark. Like currently, how much is the utilization? Say it is somewhere around zero point 0.4, right? So 4% kind of. So let's do one thing. Let's go and trigger something. There are certain tools where through which you can create a test. Okay, I've got one Windows and one Linux. So let me try to log into both the systems, and let's give some stress to your CPU or memory on the system. Okay, so once after we log in, I'll show you when you can. There are very simple ways to increase your CPU utilization or memory utilization. You can install some tools, or you can go and watch some videos, or you can run some multiple browser sessions to generate the load. You can do that manually, or there are certain tools available from Microsoft and even from online, there are a lot of tools that can generate tests in your operating system, either it is Linux or Mac or Windows. There are a lot of scripts that are available. There are a lot of tools that are readily available to generate this test. Okay, so generally this is mainly for load testing. You can do it on your UAT or performance integration testing environment, PT environment, performance testing environment. But for production, don't run any of these tools without any proper approval, because it might impact your production application. So don't do all these steps in your production. So non-production is the environment where you can go and test the load and the test all these performance testing and system integration testing and so on. So it is loading. It will take a couple of minutes to give us proper access. So let me load the Microsoft Edge quickly on this machine. So now we are going to look at the practical of metrics. So metrics provides you near real-time data about your performance of your system. So I would say CloudWatch provides metrics of for every services in AWS, EC2, ECS, RDS, whatever service you think of. For every service, there are some metrics that are available. So it's a variable to monitor, right? It's a variable. This will change time on time. Okay, so CPU utilization, memory utilization, these are all variables that will change over the time, and you are getting a time series database or time series graph for your stuff. What you can do is each of the metrics, they belong to a default namespace. So namespace, don't get too much carried away with these terms. So by default, AWS creates certain namespace for grouping your services. As I showed you, for RDS, there is a default namespace, and for your EC2 instance, you have your default namespace. So these are all namespaces. So namespaces you can go and create on your own. By default, they give you grouping by each of the namespaces. So these are some of the dimensions. They are grouping it. So your ECS related metrics are grouped separately, and then RDS are grouped separately. So we call it as namespaces. So namespaces means to group and segregate the metrics by AWS service or product or app specific. You can also create a custom namespace in your environment. I'll show you how to create a custom namespace. So in general, you get a lot of dimensions within your namespace. So if you look at here, so if I go to EC2, whatever we are seeing, right? So per instance metrics, and these are all dimensions, and the CPU credit, metadata token, CPU utilization, disk write, network out, network in, status check fail. So these are all different dimensions that are there available within your namespaces. So I'm just trying to make some clarity around the terminologies and terms that you will come across. So dimensions is attributes for a particular metric, or for a particular namespace, or I would say you can just call it as a metric. In fact, dimension is nothing but a metric. You can get a metric for instance ID, environment. So there are a lot of sub dimensions through which you can go and filter the data. So you can filter it by instance ID, or you can filter it by environment. Or if you are having a lot of tags, you can also filter it by specific tags in your environment. So you can go and get the information in different dimensions. So dimensions are nothing but attributes or metadata in the monitoring concept. So you can add a lot of dimensions per metric. So I think generally we are allowed to add 10 dimensions per metric, and this is not a hard limit, but there are certain things. And definitely metrics works based on timestamp. So without timestamp, metrics is meaningless, because at a particular point of time the utilization was for example at 10:30 the utilization was 80%, at 10:40 the utilization was 60%. So everything is a time series database. So metrics completely rely upon proper timing. So if you have set improper time zone in your systems, then that will provide false indication or false values. So always ensure that your time on all the monitored systems or sync to each other. So you are you need to ensure that you are using a proper network time server or a network time protocol are getting configured in a proper way, so that all the systems are configured at the right time and right time zone also. So time zone is also important. So you, with all these metrics, you can create a beautiful dashboard. I will show you on how to create a couple of dashboards at the end of the session today. So dashboard options is also available within your CloudWatch. So here is where you will see all the dashboard. Hopefully my system is all ready to start using it quickly. So it for the first 1 or 2 minutes, there will be some sluggishness or slowness. And see, this is Windows system, right? And there are a lot of tools that are available either in a script format. Even Microsoft provides you a tool that can generate some stress for your CPU or memory. So don't use third-party tools without any approval. But Microsoft native tools, these are all validated and tested tools by the sysinternals team within Microsoft. So those tools you can definitely use to generate any stress or load on your system. So let me just go to Microsoft Sys. There are hundreds of tools that are available that can be used by your administrators and cloud ops team. So sysinternals, I want to download this CPU stress. So there is no double S for the stress. It is only one S. I don't know why. What is the reason that they have created the tool name with just one S? But CPU stress, I have not typed it wrong. That is the name of the tool. So you can just directly go there to the sysinternal site, and within the sysinternal site, you can see there are many different tools that can be used for a lot of different stuffs in your environment. So it can help you to go and find out a lot of things on your registry and processes. So there are a lot of tools that are available from sysinternals. These are all Microsoft developed and validated tool. It can be used for networking, disk, memory, process, security, and all those stuff. So there are hundreds of tools available. The tool that I'm planning to download is the CPU stress tool. This can simulate the CPU activity to a particular limit in a tight loop. So that is what we are going to try and accomplish here. I will just run this tool on my system. Currently, the utilization on this particular server is very less. I can show you that. Currently, if I go to the task manager, it might be somewhere around less than 5% is the consumption of your CPU on this machine. So I'm trying to generate some load on this machine. So currently you can see 8% is the utilization as of now. So, and you can see that it is a time series database over the last 60 seconds. This is what we are seeing. And I'm just going to extract this file and I'm going to run it on this machine. I'll also show you how to do this on a Linux machine. Don't worry. So if in case you are not familiar with Windows, I'll show how you can do the same in your Linux operating system. There are a lot of scripts available for other Linux flavors and Mac also. So here, this is a 64-bit system. So I'm going to run the 64-bit tool. So this is generally a portable tool. Okay, you don't have to really install it on your system. You can just directly run it as a portable tool. See, when I load my each of my CPU, you can see that the utilization has started reaching beyond 35%. So I'm trying to, there are 4 different virtual CPUs on this machine. So I'm just trying to activate all of them. Okay, I've activated 2. See, suddenly it has touched 60%. If I activate the third one, then it should activate it for 85% and above. So generally what we will do is we will configure alarm if the utilization generally it's an average utilization, right, for the last 5 minutes or the last 10 minutes. So if it is a very mission critical system, then if the average utilization for the last 1 minute or 5 minutes is beyond 80, then it will send a warning. And if it is beyond 85 or 90, you can also configure a error or alert where you have to take action immediately. So this can be applicable for CPU, memory, or even disk also. You have to configure the threshold. There will be a warning level. For example, 80% or 85% might be the warning level for your disk usage and memory utilization, and 95% might be the critical alert where you might have to go and take immediate action on your system. So you might configure threshold based on your organization standard. Maybe service provider might have their own standard, or customer client might have their own standard. So I'm trying to simulate some usage here, and then I will also show you how to configure alarm and notification based on the usage on your systems. So I'm trying to have some peak usage for a particular period here. Similarly, on my Linux machine, if I want to do the same, there are certain scripts that are available. You can use Systems Manager to have a centralized or Lambda function to do that, or else you can also copy the Python script and simulate the load on your EC2 instance directly. Let me log into this EC2 instance. So if you're using scripts from Python, you can use it across operating systems. And if you are having a script which is developed using PowerShell, even those are all applicable these days across operating system. Now PowerShell is also open source, and it can be run on different operating system flavors, right? Linux, Windows, and Mac. So you can create whatever script that is of your choice, and there are a lot of tools and scripts available. And this is Amazon Linux, right? Maybe for SUSE Linux, I've seen a few tools available readily, and even for Red Hat also there are some tools available. But I will show you a script that is available in Python. Okay, there is CPU stress. Okay, so let me copy this. This is again doing the same thing on Linux. It is going to simulate for a 30-second duration. Okay, so it is going to have a CPU percentage of 80%. So that is what I'm going to do. So you don't have to use any specific editor. You just have to create a file. Maybe I will create a folder and then I will create this file. Within that, I can just go and use VI editor or nano editor, whatever tool of your choice, and I can just give it a name, CPU stress.python file, and I can just go and insert the copied contents into this file. And then if I run this script, it is going to simulate a spike on your environment for a 30-second duration, and it will automatically close it. And if you want to run it for a longer duration, you can also do it. So I'm just going it for a 30-second duration here, just for showing a demo. So you can also do it for a longer duration. As I told you, don't do it on your production systems. And this is going to simulate a CPU spike at 80% for 30-second continuously, and it will exit. So similarly here, this tool, you can also go and close it after a particular duration. So I want to run this for a particular time because as of now, I have not enabled detailed monitoring. I've just given basic monitoring. So you might not get the immediate spike. This is not real time, right? This is near real time in your CloudWatch level, but in your operating system level, you are seeing it right now. Okay, right now, what is the utilization? So all these metrics are current data. It's not historical information. So Metrics Explorer helps you to go and look at what's happening currently in your environment. It's real-time info. Okay, so when I talk about task manager and all those things, it is real-time. But if you're seeing it from an external tool like CloudWatch or Nagios or Dynatrace, it will have its own frequency of going and collecting the time series database, and it will update. It's near real-time. Okay, it's not completely real-time. It's near real-time. There is a frequency for that. So let me show you something in this console. So I'll copy the instance ID, or let me just go to all metrics. So in this, I have specific couple of instances, right? Let me copy this instance first. There should be some spike because we have been running it for some time. So you can filter it by an instance ID or resource ID or any specific metric, but I'm going to just filter it by the instance. And within that, I want to filter it by CPU utilization is what we are currently looking at, right? See, CPU utilization, I can just select this, and you can also change the duration. So currently you can see that there is a spike here to 80%, and here also it is kind of slightly increasing. You can also look at for last 1 hour, or you can also customize it. As I told you, there are two ways of doing it. One, you can give it in a relative way. You can just go and look at the data for last 3 months or last 2 weeks or whatever stuff. But if in case you want data for last 20 days or last 47 days, something like that, you can go for the absolute way of specifying the information, where you can go and specify 27 days or 26 days or whatever range you want to have. If you want to go for a range, go for absolute, or if you want to give a specific default duration, you can also give that. See, now the utilization is touching 40%, or the consumption is there. It will continue to update the value. You can also go and add additional resources here. Let me. So if you want to change the graph to, I mean, if you want to have a different x-axis and y-axis, you can also go and change this. If you want to view it in a different way, you can also get it in a data value, so that you can get like what is the minimum, what is the maximum, and what is the average. See, currently it says maximum, it has went up to 85%, and on an average it is 14%. This is over a particular time range of 5 minutes by default. But if you want to change it to 1 minute, you can go and enable detailed monitoring, but it is going to give you additional pricing. But I'll enable it anyways now. Okay, you can also go and look at the current number, which is the peak utilization is what it will show. But if you want to change it to average or whatever, you can change it anytime. And if you want to look at in a gauge format, see, if you're creating dashboards, sometimes you might have to use gauge, or you might have to use data for table. So for different resources, different widget might be more appropriate. So over the period, over the time, you might get to understand which widget is good for which resource metrics monitoring, and you can add them. For now, I feel line monitoring is more appropriate for CPU utilization, so that you understand what is the usage over the time. So you can see that it is gradually increasing because we simulated in such a way, and you can see it is uh, creating it for every 5 minutes. But if you want it for every 1 minute, then you have to go and enable detailed monitoring, and you will be able to get it for every single minute if you are enabling detailed monitoring, and you have to pay extra for the data accumulation. So here it might have run for 30 seconds and the CPU spike simulation is complete. You can also go and watch that if in case it has recorded, but it is clearly getting recorded for your Windows instance because it is continuously running. Similarly, if I want to browse it for a different instance, I can just go and search using the instance ID, or you can also search by the particular metric name, CPU utilization or memory utilization. So you can see that it is there. See, it is also showing clearly that this is the general usage, and you can also see both of them, both the Linux as well as Windows in the same screen. I have selected both, and I'm parallelly watching both the systems. See, if you have three-tier application, or if you have multiple servers that are related to an application, you can also browse all of them together, the web server, application server, and database server, and you can see like where exactly is the bottleneck. You can also add different dimensions, different source to the same graph, and you can save it as a dashboard, and you can give it to the service desk or L1 team to look at what's happening. So I will show you how to configure alarms for the team to react when there is a, see, they cannot come and visually watch it for hours together, right? They cannot do eyeball monitoring. So there are ways how you can configure alarms for each of your resources. When there is, you have to set a warning limit, you have to set a critical limit, so that the threshold, whenever it reaches that threshold, it will alert for the warning level as well as for the critical level. So we will see that shortly. We have to create SNS notification. I'm yet to explain that. So we will explain SNS notification, and I'll show the demo for how you can configure the warning and critical limit, and how you can get notified in your email or in your ITSM tool like Remedy or ServiceNow. So coming to the Explorer, so by default, as I told you, there are different dimensions for if you want to watch RDS, or if you want to watch EC2, it gives you default dimensions. So by default, it is showing CPU usage, disk usage, and you can go and add as many number of 10 different dimensions here, and you can just select which instance you want to add. You can also choose from a particular tag for a department or for a particular application you want to visualize it. You can also do that, or you can also go and give the specific instance if you want. Let me just give it. So that's the reason you need to always have a tag so that you can filter it by the tag. You can go and select the application or whatever. See here, I have added the specific instances by type. So it has added all the EC2 instances in that particular location. So currently it is giving me every 5 minutes, and I can just go and change it to every 1 minute duration. So I can clearly see that for a couple of my T2 micro instances, the utilization is near about 76 for some time, and there is some peak utilization here and there. So you can go and add different systems, and as simple as that, you can just click add to dashboard, and it will get added in a separate dashboard. So here, I can go and filter by my instance. So if I want to look at which one, Linux is 20, Windows is 534. So if I want to look at 534, I can just go and add the name. This is a default tag, right? Instance ID. So I can just close this one, and then I can keep adding as many systems as I want. I can also add one more system if you want. You can filter it by different tags and properties. So if you have tags, that will be much easier because you can filter it by environment or application or some specific grouping. But here I will just go with my, sorry, I've added the same thing again. What is the other instance ID here? Instance size or instance ID 20. So you can have both of them added in the same console, and then you can just go and click add to dashboard. So you can also, before you add it, you can also change the duration. If you want to watch it for the last 1 hour, you can also do that. And you can also change the time zone of your support team, and you can just click add. You can give it a name. Okay, so I can just say stan EC2 dashboard, and then the widget title also you can change it. I can just say stan app dashboard. I mean, whatever name you want to give, you can just give it, and then just get it added. So once after you add it, the support team will start looking at all these things for your application, and whenever they see something abnormal or fishy, they will notify you. So it has added a stan app dashboard here, and your system's utilization are being watched closely. So you can also save it. If you are happy with the dashboard, you can also move and arrange. You can also change the size of these tiles and stuff. Okay, those are all cosmetic things which you can do later. But in simple, you can add this dashboard, and you can also ask the SOC team or NOC team to have it in a full screen, and they will continuously monitor your critical applications current utilization, right? So this is very important from dashboarding. I'll also explain a little more stuff on how to create a little more beautiful dashboards. For now, for your metrics explorer, this is what you can do, and your dashboard will be available under dashboard section. So any questions on the metrics portion? See, metrics is the basic fundamental element where you go and monitor the variables of the instances or your resources, the utilization, the usage, all those stuff. And it is very lightweight. Okay, it is not going to occupy a lot of data for you. No questions? Okay, so what I will do is I'll also show you how to install some additional agents to collect additional custom metrics like your disk usage or your memory memory utilization, and so on. So there are few steps that you need to follow, and see, in general, what organizations will try and do is they will have the systems manager utilized, because systems manager is a tool where you generally use it for patching, and beyond patching, it can also be used for automating certain activities. For example, if you want to collect some specific metrics like memory utilization as a custom metrics from different systems, instead of going and adding the Python script like how I added for this CPU simulation, instead of adding it one by one on each of the systems, what you can do is you can store it in your systems manager, and from there you can go and fetch the data that you want to fetch. Either it is a memory utilization or it's a disk utilization, so you can fetch it from within your operating system level. So I will show you how to do a monitoring of your custom metrics now, and I will also show you how to download and install the Amazon CloudWatch agent in your operating system. By default, some of your operating systems will have it, but then certain operating systems you might have to install it. So let me show you that first. So, well, in general, like what you might have to do is, see, I want to show you two different demo on how to install the agent and collect all the logs into your CloudWatch logs. And second thing, I also want to do a CloudWatch custom metrics configuration. So there are two different roles that you might have to provide. Let me go and create a IAM role. Okay, so instead of using your own account, see, if you are doing some automation or if you are doing some custom metrics configuration, don't use your own account because you might not continue to work in the same organization for a longer duration. So in such cases, you might have to use a service account or a role that can help you to simplify these activities and tasks. So generally create a role. So there are certain roles which I've created as part of my previous discussions, but I will create something new. So I'm going to create a role for what use case for my EC2 service. That is one of the common use case. And what kind of permission that I want to give? I'm planning to give permission to CloudWatch, and I'm also planning to give permission to SSM, where it can go and fetch some parameters or scripts that I'm going to write. Right? It's not scripting, I would say. Let me show you that CloudWatch CloudWatch access. Okay, so CloudWatch events is there. Okay, CloudWatch agent. There should be something with full access. Okay, so it says CloudWatch RUM full access. That is not the one. Okay, so let me choose this CloudWatch full access. Let me check. Is there anything else? There it is. So there are multiple screens. So we just saw the first screen alone. So I need to give full access to, there is a version 2 also. Maybe generally go with the latest version of policy, but then I'm not sure what is there as a difference. I'll just choose both of them. And then what I want to give additional permission is I want to give additional permission to SSM, Systems Manager, full permission. So I will just give Amazon full access to the systems manager. See, if you are giving full administrator access, it will have complete access to all the resources. But in general, in any organization, it is a policy violation that if you are creating a role, you have to limit it to the activity that it is going to perform, right? It should be role based access. You should control the access based on the task that it is going to perform. So I'm going to create a role where it will have full access to CloudWatch monitoring and the SSM console, where it can go and fetch the parameters or the scripts that I'm going to store in the systems manager. Those are the two things that it is going to give. So you can change the description. So this will allow the EC2 instance to call the two services. Number one, the CloudWatch service, and the SSM Systems Manager service on our behalf. So it is a service account that we are creating. And I can just say EC2 or easier identification. I'm just say stan EC2 CloudWatch SSM access. Okay, just to easily identify it, I'm just giving a name. So in organization, you can just give the name as per. Okay, you should not give brackets and all here. You can use hyphen. Okay, so more you practice, more you have hands-on, you will get to understand what kind of challenges you get to see or you come across. So now let's go to the EC2 instance, and I will just attach this role to that EC2 instance. So how do we do that? Go to your EC2 instance. You can do it while you are creating the instance. While you are launching the instance, you have the option to attach the role as part of the instance launch, or else you can go and go to the actions, go to security, and modify the IAM role. So here I will go and search for the stan EC2 CloudWatch SSM access and update the IAM role. Now this machine will have access to CloudWatch and SSM automatically through the role. So if you want to give one AWS resource access to another AWS resource, it should be dealt via IAM role. Similarly, if you want to give the same permission to stan Windows VM also, you can do it. Okay. So but let's do one by one. Okay, let's go and log into this CloudWatch, the Linux machine, and let us do one thing. Let's go and download the RPM file for the CloudWatch agent. So you can go and get the latest agent from the internet. Okay, Amazon CloudWatch agent RPM. So it is available for different operating systems. So if you want to install it like this, you can also install the package using the sudo command. But then if you want to install and download and install it, you can just download it from this particular path. There are generally some S3 paths which are available. Okay, CloudWatch S3 region. So this is for the location. I can just download this one, which is the latest. So before I use that, I will just update the script. Sorry, update the location. So what they are asking us to do is go and change the region here so that it can download it from the specific region where you're trying to install it. So the region that we are going to do it is East US 1. So I will just copy this. So just replace the region section using that US East 1, and you can just download it from this particular path. So to download any packages, we have to use wget command in your Linux. So you can just download the RPM. And once after you download the RPM, you can just go and use the sudo permissions. I'm already a root user, but you can just give RPM-update and then just give the path of that agent, this RPM file, and install it. So it will update it. If it is already there, it will install it. I mean, if it is already there, it will update it, or else we can also install it if it is not there. Okay, so now it has created a user and group within the system, and it has updated it. Now, if you want to use this package, the RPM package, to configure certain things, see, by default, there are some default standard configuration that comes with your CloudWatch agent. But if you want to customize it, what you can do is you can just go to your OPT AWS. This is where you make all the configurations. So for Amazon CloudWatch, you have a separate folder for your agent, and within that you will have a binary folder, and that is where you have the Amazon CloudWatch wizard, configuration wizard. Just type this command. I'll give this commands in the Excel sheet. You can also run this. So this particular command is going to allow you to make configuration changes to your CloudWatch agent. If you're not making any configuration changes, automatically the CloudWatch agent will collect the data in the default standard that is defined by Amazon. But some organization will ask you to change the configuration standard as per their guidelines. So if you want to do that, then you have to run this command to make the changes. See, currently it is asking me where exactly you want to do the changes, configuration changes. Is it a Linux machine or Windows, or it's a Darwin Linux? So they're asking us the option. So by default, it is chosen as one, which is Linux. I will just enter it, or else you can go and type 2 if it is a Windows system. And what it is going to do, this Amazon CloudWatch agent, it is going to collect all the metrics and logs from your operating system, from your system, right? So here the intention is I want to configure few more custom metrics, for example, disk usage or memory utilization. Some of them are already available by default, but if in case you want to add some custom configuration, then this is what you have to do. I'll just click enter because we are already on Linux system. So it is asking me what is the default region based on the EC2 metadata. Can we go ahead and do it? If we are doing it for your on-premises system, then you have to select option 2, or else you can go and select 1 if it is a EC2 instance. And which user are you planning to run the agent, whether you want to use the root user or a CloudWatch agent user or whatever. So I can just go with the CloudWatch agent user, but if in case you want to have root privileges, you can just change it to root. And it is asking me, do you want to turn on the statistics daemon? And you can just say yes, and I can start the statistics daemon. By default, these stats daemon will not be running, so you have to just say yes to start it. And it is also asking me if there is a port which is being conflict. If you are using 8125 port for some other application on this system, you have to change the default port. By default, in this machine there is no application using that 8125, so I will just go with the default choice. So here is where they are asking us what is the duration frequency that you want to collect the statistics from this machine, whether you want to go with 10 second or 30 second or 60 second. So based on the criticality of the application that you're running on this machine, you can go and change it. I'll go with 10 second. I want to be want to get data, since it is a practical session, I want to get it very quickly. And they are also asking us what is the duration of aggregation that you want to do, 30 seconds or 60 seconds or 10 seconds. I will go with maybe 30 seconds aggregation. That will be much quicker. Instead of every 1 minute, I can just go for every 30 seconds. So it is asking me, do you want to monitor metrics from collect d daemon? Yeah, I want to collect some more information. So I'm going to install the collect d daemon also using this agent wizard. So I will just say yes and then install it. Do you want to monitor any host metrics? So this is very important, right? So whether if you want to collect memory related stuff, you have to say yes. Okay, so the default choice is yes. I'm going to say I want to collect memory metrics, and then I'm just saying yes. Do you want to monitor cpu metrics per core at the core level? So if you want to do it, you can just go for yes. And it is asking me, do you want to add ec2 dimensions for this particular image id and stuff? So if you want to add any additional dimensions, you can add it. I can just go with this yes. And then do you want to aggregate the ec2 dimensions per instance id? Yeah, if you are getting the data per instance id, it is going to be helpful. But if you want to group it per application level or in a different tag, you can also do it at the aws console level. You can go and configure certain tags, and then you can group them by tagging. So would you like to collect your metrics at high resolution? So default choice, they are saying go and collect for every 60 minutes, 60 seconds. But if I want to get it every 10 seconds or every 1 second, I can also go and get a high resolution configuration. So, okay, so yeah, let's do that. I can just go and say I want to collect it for every 10 seconds so that it is a little aggressive than 60 seconds. I'll just say, um, okay. So which default metrics configuration do you want? Whether you want a basic or standard or advanced. By default, it is a basic metrics. And if I want to go for advanced one, I can just say advanced metrics. Okay, are you satisfied with the above configuration? So you can go and review the JSON file. So this is a JSON file it is going to apply. So based on our configuration, whatever we have chosen, so it has generated a JSON file. And if you are happy with the configuration selection, you can go and say yes. Or else if you want to reconfigure it, you can just say no, and it will you can run through the same wizard again. So I will just say yes, and then complete it. Do you have any existing CloudWatch log agent configuration file to import for migration? So I don't have it yet, but I will just say no. Do you want to monitor any log files? See, currently I don't want to monitor any log files. See, for example, if you want to monitor /var log, or if you monitor, if you want to monitor some specific application path, you can monitor that particular path. Okay, I will just say yes for now. I can just say /var log is what I want to monitor. So if there is a specific application installed in a particular path, I can also give that, but I'm just giving just the log group name. And if I want to give some specific log group name, I can just say stan ec2 linux logs from that particular system. So you can just give the specific path of your application logs where it is getting stored. For example, if you want to monitor httpd.log, you can just give varlog httpd.log or different application path log. So log group class, you can just say I will just store it in a standard, or if you want to store it for longer duration retention, you can say infrequent access class, and it will go and start putting it in a low storage tier so that you can save some cost. So logs team, yeah, I can just go with the instance ID, and it is asking me how many number of days you want to retain it. -1 means you are going to store it for indefinite number of days. It will never get erased. But if I want to store it for 1 day or 3 days or whatever, I can just store it. I can just say 3 days. Okay, and then store it. But you can just give as much as 10 years also. So 3653 is almost 10 years. Do you want to specify any additional log files to monitor? No, I don't want to. I can keep adding as many as I want, but for now, let me say, okay, let's do one thing. Let me just see if there is any specific logs which I can add. Just give me a second. Okay, let's do one thing. What are the files available? Lost log, say HTTPD is there, right? So what is the log file? Access log. So if you want to monitor, sorry, there was a power cut. There was a small network glitch. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to get into the folders of the war log, and I'm trying to see like what kind of logs I can collect. If there is a specific application, for example, you want to collect the logs about the network time server or the SSD logs or whatever, you can just keep adding them. So if I want to get the error logs or the access log, I can also just capture that. So /var/log/httpd and the access log, right? I can just go and add that. So /var. Do you want to add, specify any additional logs? Yes. So there was a network disconnect, right? This is the problem. Let's do one thing. I will just try to rerun that. Sorry about this. So this time I will make it a little quick. Okay, so this is not responding because of the network issue. So what I will do is I will just try to go to that. Let me reconnect. So let me quickly run this and then I will try to make the configuration changes. Okay, so this command is used for configuring the settings as per our requirement. Okay, so some organization, what they will do is they will also store all this configuration in a parameter file in SSM, and they will try to fetch it from that. Even you can also when at the very end of the command configuration, you will also get an option to go and store it in an SSM parameter, and you can also fetch it. So if you want to run this as a standard in all the machines, you can also do that. You can store it in SSM systems manager console, and you can also fetch it. Now let me quickly do this, run this wizard. Linux, EC2, RU, CloudWatch agent is fine. Do you want to stand? Okay, statsd, yes. Listen, okay. In statsd interval is 10 second is what? Okay, it's already 10 second. What is the aggregation interval for metrics collected? Default 60 seconds. I want to go with 10 seconds aggregate. So which will be 2. Do you want to monitor metrics collected from collect_d? Collect_d must be installed on this agent. Okay. Do you want to monitor any host metric CPU? Yes. Do you want to monitor CPU metrics per core? Yes. Do you want to add the EC2 dimension? That is fine. Yes. Do you want to add aggregate dimension? Fine. What is the duration you want to high resolution? I want to go for 10 seconds. What is which default metrics configuration you want? I want to have advanced metrics. Are you satisfied with the above? Yes. Do you have, see, there is a network connection because of which it is also disconnected. Okay. So do you have existing CloudWatch log agent configuration file to import? No, I don't have. Do you want to monitor any log files? I will say yes. And then it'll ask for the path. Here I will say var log httpd. And then within that, it's directly right. So I will just monitor var log httpd. It will capture both access log as well as your error log. Fine. Default choice, it is asking for the name. So you can just go with httpd as the log name, or I can just say stan httpd logs. Whatever you want to give, you can just give it. I want to store it in the standard log instance ID, default size fine, and I want to store it for 3 days. I can just give number 3 so that it will go and store the logs for 3 days. I can store up to 10 years. If I just give -1 is indefinite number of days. It will never be erased. You have to go and manually clean it up. Do you want to specify any additional log files? For now, no, I don't want to specify any additional things. Say no. Do you want to on the CloudWatch agent also to retrieve X-ray traces? This is mainly if you are running some containers or if you're running some application at a microservice level, you can do it. But for now, I don't want to do that. The config file is located at this particular path. Okay, so you can go and edit it later also. So this is the path where the above mentioned configuration is now getting stored. See, they're asking us whether you want to store the configuration in SSM. So when I say yes, it will go and store it in your systems manager as a parameter store. So here it will go and store it in your SSM parameter. And if you're storing it there, you can access it for different systems. So if you say yes, it will go and store it in your SSM parameter store. But now I just don't want to do that. I will just say no, and then I'll store it locally. So if I want to apply that in this particular machine, the same command, you can just run it. Instead of giving the wizard, what you can do is you can use the agent control command, I think CTL. Yeah, so agent control, and you can fetch that configuration from a particular file. So you can just say -a, fetch the configuration from that particular file name. So this is for your EC2 instance, right? You can just specify the file path. The file path is this. So this is where we stored it, right? Okay, so this is the path of the JSON file based on our configuration. So what I'm trying to do is using the CloudWatch agent controller command, I'm fetching the configuration files and applying it to this EC2 instance. So you can do the same in your different machines, and you can copy the files and put it in a S3 bucket, or you can also put it in your SSM store and you can apply it. So I will give you all the commands so that you can also try it on your machine. I'm going to apply this on this machine. It is going to check and run this. So it is set. Okay, valid. Okay, processing, trying to detect. Okay, MDS entry. Okay, fine. Okay, so it says second phase is failed, but then trying to detect EC2 found active, error loading config file. Okay, error parsing. Okay, let's give it a minute and then see at least if the agent is running. I'll show you that. Or else what I will do is I will show you how to store it in the SSM parameter store. Generally, like if you're going to production environment, they will create all these in the parameter store, and then they will try to push it to different systems. So that is how they will do it. So we will go with the production method. So that is how you will see it in the real life environment. So let's go with the real life scenario. So the same configuration file, what I will do is I will just come and store it here, and then I will push it to multiple systems. So that is how generally we have to deal it with it. Either you can create it locally in that system and apply to it, or else you can do it from the centralized console. So let's go with the centralized method shortly. Maybe we are at 11:15, so we'll take a short 10 minutes break, and when we come back, we will see how to add custom metrics. Any questions before we break for 10 minutes? Okay, I'll take that as no. Okay, so before the break, what we did is like we tried creating a dashboard using the default metrics that whatever we had, right? Like CPU utilization or network in or network out. But in reality, most of the customers, they expect us to go and create additional custom metrics so that they can have a lot of additional dimensions that could be monitored for your infrastructure as well as application. For example, memory usage or disk usage or number of API calls or number of logged in users. So you can go and use additional metrics or additional API calls to find it gives you the ability to go and get those dimensions and attributes for your application or infrastructure. So let's have a demo on the custom metrics. So this is going to be a demo session mostly. So when I say custom metrics, as I highlighted just now, let us do one thing. So before the break, we went and saw how to simulate the CPU spike, and then we saw how to look at the CPU utilization. But this time what I will do is I will just go and create a custom metrics for my memory utilization, and maybe even we can just have more than one also. Maybe I can just say disk usage also, I will combine it. So not I mean, you can have as many number of stuff that you can have, number of users, number of logged in users, or number of connected users, and whatever dimensions or additional custom metrics we can add here. CloudWatch. Okay, so number one, you need to install the agent, so which we already did. And there are two ways of configuring it. Okay, one, you can just go and use the configuration wizard and then store it in a JSON file and customize the agent to send additional custom metrics. Number one option. Number two option, you can use the SSM parameters store, and then from here you can push it to multiple EC2 instances so that the configurations are kept in a centralized machine. See, generally, if your EC2 is corrupted, you might have to recreate it, and then there are a lot of additional work. So this is the preferred method. And in production, in real time, most of the customers will be using SSM parameter store to store the information centralized, and then they will push it. So let's go with the SSM parameter method. The first method is very straightforward. Okay, so if you want to make minor configuration, one or two configuration, and then store it in a JSON file, and you can apply it. That is what we tried before the break. But this time I'm going to add some custom metrics, and then try to get some additional views or what you call attributes and dimensions from the EC2 instance. Okay, I'll show you how to do that. And this also gives you option to go and get the information per instance ID, or you can also do it by specific environment, or you can also tag and get it by application or different grouping. Okay, whatever grouping you want, you can get those dimensions, and also you can get metrics in high definition or high resolution also. So when it's a high resolution, either you can get it in 1 second or 5 seconds or 10, 30. So these are all stuffs which incurs additional cost. By default, it is 60-second duration, which is the most nominal one. If you don't want to add any additional cost, you can go with the default. Or if you want to get high dimension or high resolution metrics, then you have to pay additional cost for high resolution. Right, so you can change these things, and you can also store in the standard storage, or you can also put it in your infrequently accessed storage, so that you can also save some cost in your metrics that are getting collected. So I will show you how to do that. Go to SSM and then go to parameter store, create a parameter, and then add the metrics that you want to add. So just create it. So I already got one which I've created, okay, way back in May. Sorry. So let me give it a name. Okay, I will just give it some meaningful name. I will just say stan, or let me just say slash alarm AWS. Sorry, AWS hyphen stan. Already we have got one agent already, so I will just go with. So you can have separate one for Linux and separate one for Windows. So I'm just giving a name. Okay, this name can be anything as you want. This is the name for your parameter that you want to create. So I'm just saying Stan CloudWatch agent. Stan, you consider this as an application for now. I can just say CloudWatch agent for Linux. Okay, and in the description, whatever you want to give, you can just give it. So this parameter is going to allow us get additional metrics from the EC2 instance running Stan application. Okay, so what are the additional metrics that I'm planning to get? I'm going to get memory usage, and then I'm going to get disk usage and so on. Okay, you can add as many metrics as you want. This is just a description for any new team member to understand what exactly the parameter is used for. So this will give them clarity. So why we have created this parameter. Okay, and here is where you can go and select. So if you want to have more than 10,000 parameters defined, so if you want to have the parameter file beyond 8 KB, then you can go for advanced tier, but standard tier should be more than sufficient. So you need to provide, you can provide the values in a string or in a secure string format. If you're passing some credentials, you can use the secure string. But here I'm just going to add the additional custom metrics that I want to pull from that server. There are two metrics that I want to get. One is your memory used percentage, and I want to collect one more disk usage percentage. Only these two I'm going to get. So these are the two metrics that I'm going to get from the system. I can just copy the entire thing. This is in a JSON format now. I can just go and paste it here. And then if there is an error, it will show me the error there itself. So there is no error, and I've copied the entire content. I'll give you the content. You can also try and add it. So this can be used for your production environment also. So click on create parameter. I don't think we need to add anything extra here. This should be fine. So I've created the parameter. Now we have the parameter here. And what I have to do now is I have to copy the parameter. And then when you are configuring the file, earlier we used the file path, right? When you ran the command, I used this file path where the JSON file was. Now what I have to do is I have to give the path where the content is stored. Now this is stored in a SSM store rather than a file location. Earlier, when I gave the input, I just gave it as file instead of SSM. Now I have to just give the SSM path instead of the file path. Let's hopefully run this, and then this time it will not give any error. So what I'm trying to do here is, instead of using the file path to import the configuration, I'm just going to give the path of SSM where my configuration information is stored. Okay, this is where my configuration is getting stored. So this is the source. Okay, so last time I also missed one small thing. So at the very end, I have to just give the source -s. Rest all. Okay, this is the configuration location, SSM, the stand CloudWatch. Okay, this is for the EC2. This is going to fetch the configuration. Hopefully this will work. Okay, let's say yes. Okay, it is detecting. Okay, it is finding and trying to detect. Okay, so it has succeeded. Okay, so configuration validation is succeeded. So see, if in case you want to check that, you can also check that using the same control command. You can go and say whether the configuration is successful. You can, instead of just giving this, you can just say -yum ec2 -a status. So this will tell us whether the configuration is complete and what time the configuration was done. Okay, and this is showing configured, and the time is also the latest timestamp from this machine. So we are all good now. Okay, so the configuration is done. So what it will start doing now, it will collect all the information and it will create a different new dimension here, and we will start seeing additional content coming out here. Okay, let me close all these things. Go to all. Just give it a couple of minutes. Don't be very aggressive. Patience is very important with the one-time configuration, especially as a reliability engineer. This is one of the very important tasks that you will be subjected to. You will have to create additional custom metrics, and the best way to do that is go and store the custom metrics in your parameter store and specify that file on the EC2 instances that you want to monitor and get those metrics collected here. So give it some time. It will take a couple of minutes for it to kind of get it in the CloudWatch console. Yeah, so CloudWatch agent has come now. This is the custom namespace you will see. Okay, so and within that you can just see that there are two different things. So instance ID, it is going to provide you the memory details, and this file system type, it is going to provide you the disk related usage. Okay, so disk usage, you can check it here. So instance ID, I'll go here, and then this is the stand Linux VM, and you can exactly see the metric name that we have given in the script in the particular thing. So whatever name you have given, you have to just see that. So this is what we gave in that script, right? There are two metrics we gave. One is your memory used percentage, and the metrics collected will be every 60 seconds. And if you want to be very aggressive, you can change it to whatever second you want. And the second thing is I have given disk used percent. This is the metric name that we have given. So whatever we have given, you have to go and search that. So I'm able to see the memory used. And similarly, if I go one step back, and it is also grouped by instance ID. So here I will be able to see the disk used also. See disk used percent. And generally, if you want to look at each and every partition, you can also look at it. Or else if you want to look at the XFS, the root folder, you can also go and check it. So this will tell us what is the current utilization and usage of your disk. Similarly, you can also go and check the usage at your memory here, and you can select it, and it will give you the graph of what exactly is the memory utilization as of now. There is no alarm, so you can also go and simulate some usage, and then you can also get some alarms configured to notify yourself. I'll show you how to configure the notifications and how to configure the alarm. So this is how you can go and add additional custom metrics based on the customer requirement. So it is as simple as how we saw that. So you can use the parameter store to store the configuration, and you can push it to all the machines, and you can get the monitoring data available. See, for now it is collecting the data for your stand Linux. Similarly, you can also go and collect it for your other systems that you got. So as simple as that. So any questions until now? So this is what you should know about metrics. So metrics is a graphical dashboard or a metrics explorer, which can help you to get near real-time information about your various variables like memory utilization, CPU, disk usage, network, number of users, and all those things. And by default, there are a lot of metrics that are available. 1,000 plus metrics are default available for different AWS resources. And even beyond those metrics, sometimes you might have to go and create custom metrics. So there is a very easy way to go and configure them using the JSON configuration file. Either you can store the configuration locally on your machine. If the organization is providing you the JSON file, you can store it in your local machine and do it for one machine. If it is for one machine, then that is the simple way of doing it. But if you want to apply it for 100 machines or 50 machines, then the best way is to use the systems manager to store it and push it to all the different machines that are involved in this requirement. So any questions before we move on to the next subsection? So we have just discussed about CloudWatch metrics.
Can Vinesh here?
Yes, Vinesh.
Yeah, Stan, like for example, few instances are running on government cloud, right? For those instances, right? If we are installing a CloudWatch, agent on the VMs or the instances, but how about the security, right? AWS doesn't have access to the instances that is running on the government cloud, right? So if we are installing CloudWatch agent inside the boxes, so will it be a security constraint, something like that?
Okay, see, there are repositories that will be created even for the government cloud. Okay, so they will have their own internal repository, or even you can use the SSM to store those customized packages. For example, in government cloud, they might also have their own application packages that has been custom created. You can also use the fleet management tool or the patch manager tool to push it. And obviously, see, there will be some restrictions in government cloud, but you will have your own customized zip file available. See here also, when we downloaded it, so this is the zip file, or what we did, we directly downloaded the RPM file. See, this is an open source agent. Okay, so even you can get the zip file, complete zip file of this thing. 1 minute, just give me a second. Mm, 1 minute, let me just go and get the link here only. So you will get this entire zip file. I think this is all okay. So you can directly go and install using this command. Mostly if you have it in your internal repository, it will work. Or else CloudWatch latest. Yeah, this one should be okay. So you have for each and every operating system / Amazon Linux. Okay, let me try this. I think this one is available for most of your systems. Let me go with the latest. So the answer is like, yeah, you might have your own internal repository and you might be installing it from that mostly. If in case you have a lot of restrictions to internet and you cannot download it from the internet, you might have an internal repo where you might configure it and get it installed. Okay, let me try this here. Whether if I'm able to get the zip file, then you can install it in a different method also. AMD 64 latest, I think, yeah, this should be done. So you can just say Amazon CloudWatch agent.zip file. So this is the location. Generally, you can download it. Okay, Amazon HTTPS s3.amazonaws.com/Amazon CloudWatch. I think this might be. So it is generally case sensitive at sometimes. Okay, let's try this. Yeah. So you get the zip file also. So you can get this zip file for your organization, and you can go and unzip this and then customize it for your requirement, and you can store it in your internal organization repo. So I'm inflating the file. So once after I inflate the file, you get the complete RPM Debian file, the manifest for customizing a JSON, and then so you need not use any external repo. Instead, you can have your own internal thing, and you can just directly run it from here only. So let me just / you get the entire zip file also. So you can install it using the shell script, and it will process and install it. There are various way of doing it. So some organizations, maybe in secure government cloud, you might get the latest zip file and customize it, and then install it based on your organization standard by customizing the JSON files and the script here. And whatever the method I showed, it's for your public cloud method. You just go and store the configuration in parameter store, and you push it from there.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
No
And
worries.
one more
Yeah.
question that I have. So what is the difference between the systems manager parameter store, and even in RDS we do have parameter groups, right? So
So see, certain configuration are standard to your organization, right? And if you want to have the same standard configuration pushed across multiple databases or multiple instances, you might have to use this effectively. See, instead of I whatever I showed you, right? I can do it in two ways. One, I can store the same configuration JSON file in every single system that I am trying to push the configuration, or I can also put it in a centralized location and fetch the information. See, the centralized location fetching it is the much better way of handling things, because you can update multiple systems if in case you want to change it by and in a centralized way. Instead, if you are doing it in a decentralized way, you have to go and change all the systems configuration file and get it done. It is a lot of manual work, and it is going to be very tiresome. But this is the most proper way of handling things using parameter store. Either it is RDS or EC2, any standard, any best practices, any centralized configuration that you want to apply and push, then use the parameter store to apply the configuration. It is mainly to configuration management option. The parameters can be modified
okay,
in a centralized way, in an automated way as well.
okay. How AWS secrets are different from this?
Secrets, see, there are two ways, two different ways you can store the secret. So you can put, I mean, if those secrets can be kept in your secrets manager or key vault, you can store it. See, different tools are used for storing different stuffs. Here also in parameter store, you have a secure string where you can hide and then have wildcard characters to hide the password and store it. There is a way to store the password within the parameter store, but as you said, if there is something confidential, you might have to use um, external options like key vault or secrets manager to store there. Here also you can store the secrets, but it's recommended to use secrets manager and key vault, which is more secure, and it uses much better algorithm to safeguard your information. So here also you have an option to go and use the secure store. You can store it in KMS and fetch it from here.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions before we move on? Oh, okay. We have got only 15 minutes. Interesting. Okay. So let's do one thing. Okay. Let's cover the second option alone, which is CloudWatch log. Okay. So far we have covered metrics. Okay. Now we are going into the logs. See, log